Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And as you can see, I am still banned from live streaming on Facebook. So therefore, I don't have the same flexibility that I have when working on there. So again, all I can do is just do that and just show you the surroundings and show you the weather. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I can feel a breeze blowing. And the weather for today, thank you to the lovely Amanda, sent me weather forecast in the early hours of this morning. She says, morning, Ginge. Wednesday's weather, sunny and very hot, extremely high temperatures, 37. It's going to feel like 37. Well, can I say now, yesterday, the highest temperature I had on my thermometer on my bike was 41 yesterday. And that was after I'd ridden from Sillery, where the temperature was 39. And then when I got here to where I live in Macarano, the temperature was 41. And I've got to be honest, it was like riding in an oven. It was really, really hot. Once again, the Greek press are reporting that this is a wake up to 1987 when they had what they called the deadly heat wave of that time. And I remember that I was stationed in Cyprus at the time, and it was so hot that they couldn't bury the dead. They couldn't. This was in Cyprus, and they had to put people in incubation until the weather sort of eased and they could actually go and bury people. So hasn't got that bad yet, all right, as far as I'm aware at the moment. Right. Jane today is back down at the airport, and then she has a day off. I'm just going to quickly look at the arrivals today. We've got a London in, we've got a Manchester in, we've also got a East Midlands in as well. We've also got another London in from Stansted. We've also got one in from, is that Bristol? Bristol as well is on the list there as well. We've also got a Glasgow flight in. We've got a Leeds flight in. We've got a Manchester flight in. And I have noticed that tonight what time is that? Round about 8 o'clock tonight, I think that is. We've also Belfast flight in as well. Now, how many of those flights turn up? We will wait and see. But I know people have been arriving. Can I just say thank you to all those people who came and saw me last night in Magdalena's, who were listeners. One gentleman said to me, he says, I've been watching every one of your podcasts for the last 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's podcast, he said. So thank you very much for that, sir. Greatly appreciate. Can I just say a quick hello to Lauren, who also arrived yesterday. She was spotted at the airport. She tried to do a discreet arrival without telling anybody, but trust me, Jane was down there. And you were seen and you were spotted. Anyway, nice to see you back on the island as well. And it's a bit weird for you coming back here. For those people who don't know who Lauren is, Lauren used to be working for Olympic Holidays. And since Brexit and all the craziness of working abroad now, which is not, well, it's virtually impossible now to work abroad since Brexit, she's come here now as a civilian, as a tourist, rather than as a worker. So anyway, great to see you back here on the island. At least you made it anyway as well. Right now, when it comes to COVID at the moment, it is not looking good whatsoever. It had abated just ever so slightly here in the country. You remember yesterday I said to you there were 2,070 new infections across the country. Well, today the number is 3,593 new infections across the country. That's bringing a total so far since the pandemic started to 482,145. Now, there were 15 new cases detected at points into the country, which was up on the 13 on the previous day. Now, when it comes to areas affected, and the areas that we've been looking at is like Mykonos, because we're kind of guided by what's happening in Mykonos at the moment. Well, Mykonos has reported 24 new infections on their island. Rhodes, that Steve Kimberley asked me to keep an eye on, that had 78 new infections yesterday on Rhodes. Lefkada had 9. Corfu had 25. And also Kefalonia, they had 11. But when it came to Zakynthos, Zakynthos, 39 new infections on the island. So again, that brings our monthly tally at the moment up to 191 new cases just for this month alone. So our epidemiology for Zakynthos is not faring well, and we're still waiting to see if there's going to be any ramifications of that at the moment. But at the moment, we're nothing so far, even at this time of the morning. Anyway, when it comes to deaths at the moment, there's been 8 new deaths, which was up again on yesterday where we had 5. Again, the average age of those people passing away was 79 years of age. 96% of those people had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And once again, our condolences to those families that have been affected by that. When it comes to incubations at the moment in hospitals, believe it or not, the incubation rate is going down. Yeah, that's right, going down. Yesterday I reported 147. Today, 142 incubations across the country. 85 of those are male, and 57 of those are female. So it's quite a bit trying to work out who, more men, more women, got better. But anyway, the actual incubation rate is down, which is good news. That means the average age of those people, normally around about 67 years of age, 83% of them underlying health conditions or are over the age of 70. Right, okay then. Today's news then, exclusive COVID clinics, which had been closed earlier this year, are to reopen at Greece's public hospitals to deal with the rising admissions, according to the president of the Athens and Piraeus Hospital Doctors Association, Magneta Pangori. Now, Zakynthos Hospital had a COVID clinic. I'm not sure what went on with the COVID clinic, whether it was closed, whether it now is going to be reopened. We've not had any numbers, to be quite honest, as to people that may be in the COVID clinic here on the island. There's been nothing in the local press reported on it. Yes, we've heard about the isolation hotel that had 42 on the last report we had. But for people actually in the COVID clinic, and the COVID clinic is set up into 2 sections. One is an observation area where you contract COVID in a serious condition. You go in there, obviously, to be observed. And if you go into a much more serious state where you need to be incubated, there's a separate incubation area. And our COVID clinic incubation area, if I remember top of my head, had somewhere in the terms of, I think it was 9 beds, okay, with ICU equipment to be able to treat anybody. But at the moment, there's been no word as to whether anybody is in the hospital at the moment and whether that COVID clinic is going to relaunch in there. But it seems that the government now are wanting to relaunch the COVID clinics. Anyway, they also said as well, hospital admissions have risen from 5 to 45 in 7 days, Pagoni said, who works at the Athens Centre. He also said on Sky TV, we are doing well with it all. She also added saying that the health system will start coming under pressure, though not at the intensive care unit level just yet. And we've already seen that just in the stats this morning. The numbers are actually dropping in that area, but it's the other area where the observations are taking place. She also noted, however, that it won't take much for an unvaccinated person over the age of 50 with an underlying health problem to end up in the ICU, and warned of new restrictions in the ratio of vaccinated people do not reach 80% by the end of August. If it takes until December to build a wall of immunity, there's that word again, wall of immunity, there will be mayhem at the hospitals come October, she has warned. So obviously, they're playing for the worst at the moment, as always, rather than just getting on with it. All right. Anyway, interesting article came up this morning, and can I just thank the guys that I spoke to yesterday. I got into Magdalena's early in the morning yesterday to do some work, and I basically got chatting to some people there. One guy, I can't remember your name, from Ireland. A couple of other guys from the UK, and we got talking about the minimum wage, about Greece and the minimum wage. Well, believe it or not, the minimum wage is actually in the news today, and I think this is quite important. actually to give you some flavour about working conditions and what people are working or earning here in Greece. Anyway, the Greek government announced on Monday that the beginning on January the 1st, 2022, the minimum wage in Greece will be increased by 2 percentage points, bringing back to the spotlight of the turbulent history that the Greek minimum wage has had. Now, the pay rise comes as a result of the consultation that the Greek government held for months with the country's social partners. That's like your healthcare and people like that, and your unemployment and stuff like that. But also as well with trade unions, business and employers associations as well. So you can see the trade unions and also the business employers associations have a lot of power here in Greece, as they always have done. And you've got to speak to them if you're going to get things done. Anyway, the new minimum wage in Greece will go from 758.33 euros, so 758 euros 33 cents per month, and it's going to rise to 773.50 euros a month. All right. Now, it should be noted, however, that employees in Greece are entitled to 14 payments a year rather than 12. All right. As they say, nothing is straightforward in Greece and nothing is the obvious. Anyway, this means then that from the beginning of January 2022, in reality, you're actually going to get 663 per month instead of 650 per month. So, yeah, that is the way it works. So the reality is you're not looking at 773 in your pocket. All right, that's a mathematical equation. But the reality is in your pocket, you're going to be looking at minimum wage of 650 euros a month. And how many people do we know here who are working for a lot less than that? Anyway, in April, every employee in Greece's private sector gets an additional 50% as an Easter bonus. In July, another 50%, which is a holiday bonus. And then in December, you also get 100% boost, which is also called the Christmas bonus, all right? Which is, I'm not going to say anymore. But anyway, so that is the other payments that you are entitled to when you are in the private sector. Now, the way the Greece's private sector employees work, they also get a total of 14 payments on an annual basis rather than 12 as well. Now, the same used to apply for everyone in Greece for decades. However, one of the first cuts to come in 2010's financial crisis, which brought the country to its knees virtually, was the abolishment then of the Easter, Christmas and holiday bonus, which then went to all workers in the public sector. They and even pensioners used to get the same Easter, Christmas and holiday bonuses, and they were also cut as well, obviously, to save costs on expenditure because of the actual, because of the crisis. So these groups now still only get the 12 instead of the 14 salaries, and pensioners are the same. They don't get that. Again, it is 12. So talking about complicated, it is complicated. Right, now, where does Greece's minimum wage stand up in the EU? Now, the European Union does not oblige its members, and I never realised this until today, but the European Union does not oblige its member states to have a minimum wage, although many political parties in the European Parliament have been asking for the European Parliament to actually enforce a minimum wage for years, similar to what the Americans have is their federal minimum wage. Now, it's a matter of a national decision, the EU has always said, for member states whether they introduce a minimum wage or not. However, 21 out of the 27 member states have a legal requirement of a minimum wage actually in place. Now, the countries that don't have a minimum wage, which is interesting really, are countries as follows. Cyprus is one, Italy is one, Austria is one, And the Scandinavian trio, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland, they all do not have a statutory minimum wage. Now, there is a common misconception that Greece has one of the lowest, if not the lowest minimum wage in Europe. It is obviously obvious that more than 10 years of austerity, pay freezes and cuts have left a very, very strong mark in Greek society. However, many might still remember that the political debate in Greece was once focused on when the salaries of the countries will reach the levels of France, Germany and Britain, with mainstream political parties fighting over which would be the one to make such a promise a reality. Now, of course, in the early 2000s, which are now long gone, the Greek financial crisis has made these discussions not only obsolete, but something more of a bad dream. However, the belief that the Greek minimum wage is the lowest in the EU is actually wrong, believe it or not. Greece, with its 773 and 50 cents now, and the 650 when they redo the math, all right, actually puts Greece into mid-tier within the European Union in regards to minimum wages. Next to which Portugal, they have just €2 a bit more. So where Portugal is in regards of that. Now, only 8 EU nations offer a minimum wage that is above €1,000 threshold, with Slovenia and Spain the last ones to join the club. So Slovenia, basically, minimum wage is a lot higher than Greece's. So we have Slovenian tourists here on the island. So they've got a little bit more money to spend. So don't forget that when you're in the bars. They do have a bit of expendable revenue, the Slovenians. So remember that, guys, when you're serving people drinks. Anyway, I never realized this, but Spain, for example, used to have a similar minimum wage to that of Greece for decades. However, the current left-wing government in Madrid raised the wage significantly, offering €950 per month in the 14 installments, averaging a monthly salary of 1,108. Now, Spain is the only other EU country, and I never knew this before, who does offer the 14 monthly salaries in the same as the way that Greece does. Now, in real terms, after 10 years of austerity, Greece stands 11th in the EU placing on the country, right in the middle of the tier countries that offer 700 to €1,000 minimum wage. The lower tier countries must that have a minimum wage below 700 are, interestingly, Hungary, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, Chechnya, Slovakia, and the Baltic states of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. So a lot of those areas are basically now customers of ours here on the island who are coming on holiday here now at the moment. And so obviously they're on a lot less money than what technically Greek employees are on. So therefore they probably won't have the same expenditure of money. Anyway, the lowest minimum wage in the EU right now is Bulgaria, who are also visitors to this island, where employees in minimum wage do not earn more than, get this, €332.34 per month. So €334 a month. That's a very, very low amount of money. But then again, I suppose it could be relative. Maybe their cost of living is a lot lower over there than it is here. So maybe Bulgaria looks like a good place to go for if you want to relocate. All right, anybody's thinking about it. But my brother actually did have a place there for a while, but he decided he had enough and he got out. Anyway, on the opposite side of the spectrum, one can find that the tiny nation of Luxembourg, those on minimum earnings there, get what their minimum wage is. Their minimum wage is €2,201 a month. And that figure seems extraordinarily high to many Europeans in the East and even in the South. So Luxembourg, well, that's where all the money's been laundered, isn't it, basically, through the EU. So again, it's bound to be a bit of a higher minimum wage there. Anyway, the minimum wage is a major political issue in Greece. The minimum wage in Greece was introduced in 1998, and back then it was set at 550 euros, which was about 188,000 Greek drachma for those people who remember that money. I could never get my head around that money. I really couldn't. Anyway, from 1998 until 2012, the minimum wage in the country was constantly increasing. It reached its highest point of 884 euros, and that was in 2012. And it's dropped since then by the looks of it. Anyway, however, Greeks were being paid with a 14-month salary system where most salaries are lower amount and others are significantly higher, led to the belief that the minimum wage was around about 751, which was the figure for the months without any bonuses. Nobody knew that the number 751 was meant to become one of the most heated topics of political debate in Greece's history and for years to come. When in 2012 the government decided to cut the minimum wage to 612, the previous minimum wage, because of the symbol of how things were before the crisis, all the opposition parties at the time, with the left-wing Syriza at the forefront, turned 751 figure into a political slogan. So if you go around saying 751 daubed on walls, nothing to do with gangs or anything like that. It's basically the minimum wage, all right, that was being daubed on there. Anyway, Alex Tsipras, who was prime minister then, in a rally in Italy before 2014 EU elections, Alex Tsipras, the leader of Syriza, the prime minister, promised that one of his administration's first policies would be to reintroduce the 751 minimum wage. However, it never happened. All right, there you go. So basically, I'm going to bang it on the head there regards to minimum wage. I think you've probably got an idea about that as well now from that little story. Now, interestingly, it's more crime here on Zakynthos, which is not good. There was an armed robbery that took place at 3 in the morning. There was an armed robbery yesterday around about 3 o'clock in the morning against a businessman outside his home in the Marakia area, which is just outside of Zakynthos town, which is close to Silovy. Now, according to police sources, the 49-year-old businessman and his wife were returning home from collecting the day's takings from their shop, and which is located in Zakynthos town. The car was being driven by the woman, and the businessman was in the passenger seat. As soon as they parked the car in the yard of their house, two armed robbers stopped them and demanded the takings and hand the money to them. Anyway, the 49-year-old businessman resisted, and what the press described as a small battle, which I would think was a fight between the robber and the robbers and the businessman. During that fight, one of the perpetrators then shot the man in the thigh. Fortunately, not seriously injured him, but they still took the takings, which amounted, according to them, around about 15,000 euros. Now, according to the same sources, the perpetrators also stole jewellery from both the businessman and his wife. Then the injured 49-year-old was taken to hospital in Zakynthos, where he was then obviously treated and was said to be out of any danger. Finally, the Zakynthos Police Department has started an investigation for the armed robbery and is focused on people who knew the businessman and the receipts made by his store. Because 15,000 euros for one day's takings, that seems a lot of money. So it'd be interesting to see that that was the amount, because that's what the police will be thinking. Was it as much as what he has said it was? Anyway, the authorities have already been searching for the perpetrators through security camera footage that was supposedly in the area of the house, and the investigation is now being taken up, and the 49-year-old is obviously being investigated as well, the man who got shot. So again, the police are there on top of it, but again, not nice. And as Jane actually did say, at the moment, with everything that's going on, there are going to be some desperate people out there, but to go and shoot somebody to take their takings is, I wouldn't say a thing of desperation. That to me is calculated, cunning and collected. But there are other people who are turning to crime because they need to survive. Not I'm condoning it, but just be aware the realities of it. And please, 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 when you go out, close your windows, close your doors. Don't let your guard down just because you're on holiday, and leave your windows and doors open and everything else, because trust me, there are people that will take advantage. And talking of crime again here on the island, another little interesting case as well. There was a case of theft that's been investigated by the police here against a foreigner. I love the way they use the word foreigner. It means somebody that wasn't Greek, who was working in a home as a helper, a domestic helper in a home, who had been stealing money using one of their employees' cards and taking money, obviously, from the old hole in the wall. Now, this had been going on from basically from 2020. They said the first incident was on the 23rd of July, 2020, and the last instance was the 22nd of November, 2020. And this employee had withdrawn 9,380 euros over that period of time. Anyway, a file case has been taken against the foreigner. That has been forwarded to the public prosecutor's office, and we will see how that then pans out. Just another quick story that came in as well today. Greek universities in the new academic year will be open, but only for fully vaccinated and immune due to prior illness. The Deputy Education Minister responsible for higher education, Angelos Simotos, announced that on Monday without providing the actual details of the plan. All that's been said, and he was speaking to Mega TV, was there will be no more remote learning again, because that definitely, I know, wasn't working last year. It sounded all very grandiose and all very good. I spoke to a lot of students last year who said it was the biggest waste of time, biggest waste of money for them, because, again, the equipment that they were using wasn't working correctly, and they actually just found they didn't learn anything by this distance learning, which I know everybody's raving about. One of them said to me, do you know what, Ginge? I'd have been better off going onto YouTube and watching some of the videos on there. He says, I would have learned more than what I learned from some of the teachers and some of the professors who were doing their online broadcast, because they didn't have a clue as how to present their subject to us every day online. And that's a good point as well, I think, to be honest. Anyway, he also said that the conditions under which unvaccinated students will be able to return to campus still need to be determined. However, Syros did not rule out inoculations being made mandatory for students, with on-site vaccination centres already being proposed by the Athens University. So there we go. They're still after chasing the youth and getting them to become vaccinated. Right, okay. And finally, Maria Kakou, I think that is pronounced, of Greece, and Christina Barampou of Greece. They actually did really well yesterday in the Olympics. They were the first in the semi-final at the Sea Forest Waterways in Tokyo, with a race in which they broke the record with 6.48 was the time. They did that really well. However, the New Zealand team then went on to reclaim it just a little bit later on, and they then had the best time. But there's a lovely picture of the two girls in the rowing in the Greek press at the moment, showing the wonders and the goodness of the Olympics. Because I've got to be honest, the Olympics at the moment are seeming to be a bit of a non-event at the moment. I think the European football had a bit more of a bang to it than what the Olympics has been having. A lot of that is the way that the Japanese are handling the running of it as well. And that is the reason, I think. Right. Anyway, that's it from me for today. Can I just say thank you to all those people who've been dropping me little words of encouragement or coming to see me yesterday in Magdalena's. Just to let you know, last night, absolutely cracking night last night. We were really, really busy downstairs in the mixed area, vaccinated and unvaccinated. We were packed out. Ooh, shouldn't really be saying that, should we? We were very busy down there. However, we did have a lot of people upstairs in the vaccinated area. And again, once again, just to point out, if you can prove that you've been vaccinated, either through an app on your phone, or if you have a piece of paper that says on this date you were vaccinated, and you print it out so we can see it and look at it. That will suffice for us, for you to be allowed upstairs into the vaccinated area. But we have to be strict because, again, what we don't want is any visits from the police or from the health teams. And also, we've been hearing stories of undercover police going in and doing checks and stuff as well. And we want to make sure that we're on the right side of the law. Anyway, that's it from me for today. You have a good day. I'll keep my ear to the ground, and if I hear of anything, trust me, I'll let you know. Ta-ra. Catch you later.